Hello, hello.
Hi. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, cool. Hey.
You're right in the middle of the sunshine. It looks perfect.
Oh, great. Yeah, okay, I can see that.
Nice.
From God.
That's the best entrance you can ever have.
All right. Cool, man.
Mr. Monroe, thank you very much for taking the time and talking to us.
Oh, my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
You're having a new record out pretty soon. It's called I Live Too Fast to Die Young. I mean, right. I guess even you had to like take a step down in the past 2.5 years, I guess, because of the pandemic, right? How did you survive the whole thing?
Well, I was being careful. I stayed home in lockdown and social distancing and all that. And I didn't mind. It wasn't too bad, considering that it could be worse. I mean, at least we didn't have to go to war and fight, you know?
Yeah.
We have to stay home and sit on a couch and watch TV with your loved ones. Yeah, not too much to ask. So I was being careful and did what I could, you know. We were all in the same boat. So
yeah.
What are you going to do? I mean, you know. But couldn't get to play with my band for over 2 years live. And we had a bunch of songs. Like last summer, we had about 34 songs. So a lot to choose from. And ended up with the 11 best ones for the album. So I'm quite happy with the album, the way it turned out.
Yeah, you can be. It's another great record. It's another great rock and roll record. Do you think, you know, we got to talk about this later because you got a personal thing coming up, but do you think that rock and roll, the way you perform it, do you think it aged well during all the decades? I mean, you got a great band together. The songs are great. Everything's great. But the whole thing, how does it, you know?
Over the years?
Yeah.
Well, my kind of rock and roll has aged well. I think we steer clear of all cliches and reinvent them. And you know,
yeah.
My band, we have a lot of fun playing. We enjoy being together, and we have a great spirit and great chemistry in the band. Is really rare.
Yeah.
So I always try to challenge myself and expand my horizons and try new things and renew the band's, like with this album, I think we renewed the band's sound in the best possible way. We had a lot of great different kinds of songs that we haven't had before in the previous albums, and went into a new studio, new engineer, new surroundings, completely new, which was a conscious risk, but it paid off because I think the album really turned out great, sound-wise, production-wise, and song-wise, in every way. It has a lot more depth and more air, and it's kind of more pleasant to listen to. So, I think. We've kept it together. I never allow myself to become complacent. There's always room for improvement, and that keeps me trying. That keeps me hungry. You know, I don't know what other people do. Rock and roll has not been the main thing for many years. There's all kinds of stuff coming out with. I mean, the music business has really watered down the real rock and roll, and that often happens. But there's still a good rock and roll out there when you look for it. If you know where to look for it, you'll find it.
It's great. Were you actually able to record together in one room, or is it a little bit just a remote thing? You know?
No, we were in the same room. I mean, we were not. We got together last August to make some demos, and that's the first time we saw each other since the pandemic started. We had about 9 days in a recording studio, in a rehearsal studio. Yeah. Recorded some demos, about 18 of 34 songs, and then we went into the studio in November, and everybody got in Helsinki, and we recorded the basic tracks together. Steve Conte, Sammy Affa, and Carl Rockfist and Rich Jones And then about a week and a half, about a week for the basic tracks, and then Steve stayed a few 2 or 3 more days, and then he left, and then it was me and Rich Jones and the engineer Erno Leiten, and we stayed in the studio for the rest of November and did overdubs and did vocals and stuff, and then Rich went home to Canada, and we took about a week off, and then I went back in with Erno to mix the album, and it had to be finished before the New Year's because the vinyl, there's a shortage of vinyl because of the COVID, so we had to have the vinyl mixed and mastered before New Year's, and we just made it like the day before New Year's Eve. We were finished with that, so just in time.
Very nice. Now, I Live Too Fast to Die Young. You didn't die young, but you got a big birthday coming up.
Yeah.
Is that just a number for you? I won't say what number, but is it just a number for you, or do you go like
the big 60? I'm turning 60 this year on June 17th, and I feel the same. I mean, I'm still here and doing it the best I can, and rock and roll keeps you young. It's a fountain of youth, to me, anyways. It's a way to stay. You keep a fresh, young mind, and you stay young forever. And it's cool. It's interesting to see what's happening because it depends on your lifestyle, how you take care of yourself physically and stuff. And I've been most of my life, I've been pretty good at trying to keep in shape. I had to keep in shape in order to do what I do live on stage. Yeah. So good kind of curse in quotes. So hopefully I'll live long and healthy. But I live my days. I don't count my years. I live my days. And the 60th birthday is that much significant that I'm going to have a special birthday concert that's going to take place in September, on 23rd of September in Helsinki at the Ice Hall, with many special guests and special stuff, special material, songs and songs that a lot of songs that I normally we haven't played with this band, and some songs that I have never played live, and special guests and a special event once in a lifetime. So that much I do care about turning 60. But I'm not. If you start worrying about getting old, then you start looking it.
I understand. Now, when you mention, always, and it's probably pretty much obvious that people would ask you if you start mentioning, there's going to be special stuff and special guests. I think people won't get tired asking you about Hanoi Rocks, and now that, you have this special event coming up, people would assume that something it's going to happen, or not. If you're not allowed to say anything to give it away, it's okay. Don't worry about it. It's just.
What are you referring to? Like a Hanoi Rocks reunion? Are you talking about?
Sort of.
Oh no! This is my birthday, Michael Monroe. I know. But there's you normally, if you have a special guest, it's most of them I like to keep as a surprise. But they also, it's the 40th anniversary. Was it Hanoi started? Well, yeah, 1980 or 80. So there's like 40th. Actually, it's the 40th anniversary of the Oriental Beat album this year. So we, I don't know if you heard, but I relocated the tapes that were thought to be missing, the original multi-track tapes of the album. And we always wanted to remix that one because it was a horrible mix. The original, the producer didn't know what he was doing, and it was really ruined. And it's a shame because there was a lot of great songs. And I'm sure that mix probably set the band back a year or two in our career because it was so bad. So then we wanted to remix the album when Guns N' Roses released our back catalog, the European back catalog on their Uzi Suicide label in the States in 1990. But then we were told that the tapes were missing, that the Finnish label had sent the original tapes to Germany to some producer to mix, and they were lost. And I was like, it's crazy that they sent the original tapes. And I thought, didn't make sense. So all these years we thought that were missing. But then a couple of years ago, I heard it. I got a tip from somebody. This guy who said that he'd been at this warehouse that Universal Records in Finland.
Yeah.
They own all the old Hanoi stuff. So he said he saw some multi-track tapes that said Hanoi Rocks. And so I called the head of the label and I said, "Can somebody go and take a photo of these tapes? And if it says at Vision Studios, London, then they must be the Oriental Beat tapes." And they were. So
this is crazy.
Yeah, totally crazy. So now 40 years later, we've remixed the album and it's being mastered now. And it's supposed to come out in it's been October, November, probably November this year though. So the real mix, the remix is the real mix by Hanoi Rocks, the 40th anniversary, 21st century edition, the real mix is coming out this year of the Oriental Beat album. So, which is appropriate. It's a 40th anniversary. And then also for that album to come out as with the sound that it deserves, it's phenomenal. It's really, really cool. So went into the studio with Sammy and then with Andy to finalize it. And everybody agrees. It just sounds as good as it can sound because it wasn't recorded too bad. I mean, I remember we had rough mixes back in the day and we thought it's going to be fine. And then we heard the album, the final mix we heard when it was already pressed onto vinyl. And our manager brought it to some hotel and brought a turntable and played it to us. We were like, wow, it sounds kind of hollow. And well, I guess there's nothing we could do about it. You know, if I'd known what I know now, we would have just went back in and remixed it. But that's what happened. But now, better late than never. I mean, it's the longest project of an album I've ever had. 40 years in the making.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful. I'm really looking forward to this one. Really good. It's surprising to me, actually. I didn't know that.
Also, the Demolition 23 album. That one has been out of print for years and years. And now Little Steven is finally we're releasing it on his Wicked Cool Records label, and it's remastered. It sounds better than before. It's got more drums, it's more balls to the sound, and it's going to be out on vinyl, CD, and digital and everything. That'll be released in October or November. I think it was November at the latest. But in the fall. It's
going to be a good Christmas for fans for you.
Yeah. 60th birthday, Christmas birthday, everything all put together. And it's the year of the tiger. I was born 1962, so that's the year of the tiger in the Chinese horoscope. So this is the year of the tiger. So maybe it's a good year for me. Everything's going my way. Everything has to go my way.
Nice one. Can you tell us a little bit about some songs on the new record? I mean,
sure.
I Live Too Fast to Die Young. I think it's pretty obvious. We just pretty much covered that. What was the Murder the Summer of Love?
Murder the Summer of Love.
Yeah.
Well, there's basically there's obvious references to Altamont and the end of the hippie era, but it's more broad than that. It's about being in a present moment and appreciating the things that are happening now, things that we have, because as people we tend to tear things down in the name of progress, only to look back at them nostalgically, wishing that we had those people and places and moments again. So get up off your ass and live life to the fullest is the message of the song, basically. But obviously, it's referring to the end of the hippie era. I think that was the closest that people will ever come to having the power, because it was in the name of love and peace. Yeah. And the American government, they couldn't crush the revolution because even with violence, because these people, the hippies, they just said, okay, have a flower, love and peace, brother, sister, and therefore, for a while, the audience, I mean, the government were kind of freaking out for a while until they realized, let's put out some bad acid and have these guys have some bad trips, and then they'll freak out and they'll stop the whole thing. And I'm sure that it's something like that. So the hippie generation, also apart from the fact that there's always, when something becomes a big thing, there's always people that kind of are self-indulgent and use it as an excuse to get high and have sex and party, and that also is part of the thing. But I'm sure that was the closest we'll ever come to people having the power. But anyway, it was a good thing. But the song is saying, live in this moment. This moment determines your past, your future, and the present. So live life to the fullest and get off your ass. And when a revolution, get off of your ass and do it now. You know.
Now, who are the young drunks and who are the old alcoholics?
Well, probably the same person before too long. It's about that song's about like young bands that are encouraged to party and get messed up, and before you know it, they end up as drug addicts and alcoholics. And the industry loves a good train wreck until it becomes a serious problem. And then suddenly nobody finds it funny anymore. And these people are on their own, you know. So it's basically saying that you can't live like this forever. So get your shit together. Young drunks and old alcoholics, people fall for the trap. I mean, young bands think that it's part of the thing is to party and get drunk and all that. And then they wind up as sad, you know, living wrecks as alcoholics and addicts. And then they left on their own. And, you know, it's a sad story. And it often happens for people who fall for the trappings of fame.
Yeah. But you never had problems with alcohol, I guess.
No, I never liked alcohol. That made me feel stupid and made me feel sick. I didn't have fun growing up, you know. And so I had my own demons to chase, and but I came to the conclusion it's always best to be clear and straight when you know work was always, even with Hanoi Rocks, even though the guys would drink anybody under the table and do anything they could get their hands on, we'd still always. The performance, the band, the gigs, and the records, the songs, and the music, the playing was the most important thing to us. Yeah. Not the other stuff that comes along, not the chicks and the partying and I mean that's so funny about so many bands in America. When you ask them, so many musicians like guitar players, whatever, you ask like, why did you get into rock and roll? So they say, oh, for chicks, man. Oh, for chicks. Oh, so lucky you could play a little bit on the side, you know, if you're chasing girls, you know, it's like, what the hell? To us and to me, it was always about music and my art and making it as great as possible. So never compromise that with, no matter what you do, we always got through the gig. Even though one show at the Electric Ballroom in London, Nasty, my other guitar player in Hanoi, Nasty Suicide, he was... it was a little bit not in the greatest shape, and all he needed was Razzle, our drummer. His drumstick flew out of his hand and hit Nasty on the head, and Nasty was like out cold, passed out. They carried him off the stage, and then they brought him back, and he couldn't stand up, but he could play. So they taped him to this pillar. There was this pillar on stage. They gaffer taped him with gaffer tape. They taped him up on that pillar, so he could stand up. It would still play.
That's rock and roll. There's a secret favorite song of mine on there that I just from the very beginning. It's the Derelict Palace.
Derelict Palace, yeah.
Derelict Palace. I'm sorry, yeah.
Yeah, that's my favorite too. Thank you. Oh. That's my favorite too. I love that song.
Yeah, I do too.
That should be a single. I think yes. After the album comes out, probably. I mean, the next single is going to be Everybody's Nobody, but Derelict Palace has to be a single. I think, you know, after the album comes out, we should make that a video. Yeah, it's great. It's got a lot of ear candy, and very lots of a new church kind of stuff. It reminds me of
right.
A little bit like the Lords, and Steve Vaders, of course, is the big influence, and a dear friend of mine he was. God rest his soul. But yeah, Derelict Palace, and that, you know, that song is also, it's about people who get a little too much into drugs, and before they know, they kind of disappear from all the people and things that they used to love. But it really has a nice sound world and a lot of cool ear candy. And as you can hear, we don't mess around with reverb. When we had the line in the second verse, this hall of mirrors leaves me cracked. I love that echo. It's like, whoa, you know, if you use something, an effect like that, use it for, you know, have it all or none.
It is funny because with all the records you did and all the solo stuff you did over the past years and even before that, I felt like, you know, you are an icon when it comes to the invention of glam and hair metal in the 80s. And you were the first and you were the only one. And it was LA, and you changed the whole LA scene, as a matter of fact. But when it comes to your music, you sound so much more New York than LA.
That's right. Thank you. I was always more New York than LA.
Yeah.
I lived all my years in America. I lived in New York, and to me, it's kind of bittersweet. The hair metal thing that came up, and I was blamed for.
Well,
there was a lot of there's good bands. There were good bands, but then there were many bands that kind of missed the point of they didn't have the. I mean, Hanoi was also a lot of it. There's a lot of punk in it, a lot of the rock and roll. To me, was about shaking the establishment and writing songs that are relevant and say something. And the music, instead of some phony, la-di-da, superficial lyrics about partying and girls, and so there are a lot of those bands that came up around that time. They thought it was all about having a big hair and posing and partying and chicks and sex, drugs, rock and roll, all that cliche. And they played their hairspray cans better than the instruments. So that was like, I didn't want to be part of that. I didn't want to be mixed into like I wanted people to see that I took this rock and roll a bit more seriously. It was more religious to me than these we're so wild and wacky and we're party hardy dude, all right, and just phony kind of stuff. So there's a lot of phony rock and roll that came up also along with that. So, but I'm glad that there were bands from that time like, well, the Guns N' Roses were great. They weren't a hair metal band. They were influenced by Hanoi, but they had their own thing, and they really strong and a bit heavier musically, a little bit heavier, more like Aerosmith heavy sound wise. And they really had their own thing, and they always quoted Hanoi as their influence. And they re-released our European catalog. They released that in those albums in the States. And were really wonderful. So I'm glad they're still around, and they were one of the coolest things coming out of that time period, that era. But I was always more New York. I lived in New York, in Manhattan for 10 years, and it was that's what I was about. The streets and the reality is in your face there. And I lived across the street from the Hells Angels clubhouse, and I was on the good side. My debut show was actually on the street at their 4th of July party in 1987. My debut as a solo singer. I put a band together, and they blocked off the street and had 2 days and nights. So I played there, and New York was to me was rock and roll, and and Little Steven still is my dear friend, and was a very key person to me in those years. Always we worked together, and one way or the other, he was always involved in my records and stuff, and produced the Demolition 23 album and stuff. So New York is it.
You gotta have you're going to have a couple of dates with Alice Cooper coming up here in Germany.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
That's
amazing.
Probably not your first time you guys play together, is it?
No, I mean, we've opened for Alice in Finland. I opened for Alice a few shows. 2 shows in the UK. We opened for him. It was 2015, I think.
That's rather late too.
Yeah, in Swindon, in Plymouth and Swindon. And in Swindon, Alice asked me up to sing the second verse of School's Out, which he's done. I mean, whenever he's played in Finland, he's invited me up on stage quite a few times. I've done 2001. That was the first time he invited me up to sing Under My Wheels. And then about maybe 3 or 4 occasions when he's been in Finland, he's asked me up on stage to do School's Out and sing the second verse. In Swindon here, he introduced me. He says, "Where's Michael?" And it's such a joy to be. I mean, he's such a sweet guy, and such a great honor to be invited on stage with him. And once he told me, he said, "I like to have you up there because Michael, you know how to work the stage." I said, "Wow, well, thank you. That made my year." And now getting to open for him in Germany, especially because we never, I don't know why, with Hanoi Rocks in the 80s, we never played in Germany. Only a couple of shows, and then nowhere else, even in mid-Europe, like Italy, France, Spain, never played there with the original Hanoi. So, and it's Germany especially. I know the audience there really loves rock and roll. I mean, everybody says they're into heavy metal, but you guys, understand rock and roll. I could tell from the crowd. Whenever we played there, it's a great audience and great people, as I always wanted to play there more. And one thing I always regretted was that there was a tour that Lemmy asked us to join, open for Motorhead back in 2013, and we had just agreed to do this tour in the UK with this other band that wasn't really even the right band for us to tour with. But we had already agreed to that tour, and so Lemmy would have wanted us to come and open for them the whole tour of Germany. And I always like, wow, shit, I wish we had, I even tried to cancel the up and coming tour, but it was too late. But anyways, now getting to open for Alice and playing in bigger places, getting a bigger exposure for this band, because and we definitely, I'm so excited about it to get to play in Germany and open for Alice and to venues like this. I guess a couple of thousand seaters, right?
Yeah. Most definitely. And you know, you playing Alice, you play Wacken, and you do a lot of shows in Finland. But do you think there's a chance you're gonna be back for some headliner gigs here? Some club stuff here? That would be the best. Like the last time you were here, it's just great.
Like a club tour.
Yeah.
One way or the other, for sure. I mean, if I have my way, I keep pushing for Germany all the time. As he says, we got to play in Germany. We got to play in Germany more, as much as possible. So hopefully we'll get to play there soon. Club tours, I'm sure that's doable, regardless. But still, it's always best to play, reach more people at the same time. So a couple of thousand seaters. This is the perfect size of venue, I think, like what we're doing with Dallas. So hopefully there'll be more of those opening for somebody cool like that. And
have you ever played Wacken?
Yeah.
Oh, you did? Okay.
We did. We played there. Was it 2015 or something?
Okay.
Yeah, it wasn't too long ago. It was now when you think of it. Yeah, maybe 5 years ago or something.
Okay.
Yeah, it was. We did play Wacken, and it was great. It was. People got. I even have there was a video of that show. Even so, they documented. They filmed it, and even though there was something wrong with the sound, the other channel wasn't working on the other. There was something about the balance of the sound, but it still was. It was a great show, and people were into it. And more, I could tell as the gig went on, more and more people came. The audience got bigger and bigger all the time. So it went across great. Yeah.
I got one last question for you, and it's a what if question, but I need to ask you this.
Okay.
What if you were introduced and inducted eventually and finally into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? Would you say, well, guys, it's an honor, or would you say, well, you're 20 years too late, motherfuckers?
No, I would say thank you. It's an honor, and it's brilliant to be recognized like that. That would be an awesome honor and privilege, and great recognition. Of course, I would really appreciate that. I wouldn't say you're 20 years too late. It's about fucking time, man. It's like, forget that. That would be a huge honor. It would be amazing. Yeah. Is that like, you mean like in Cleveland in America?
Yeah.
Wow. That would be awesome. That would be unbelievable.
It's about time, man.
Yeah. Well, I hope that happens. I'll be there.
Well, it was, again, always a pleasure talking to you.
Same here, man.
Thank you very much, and good luck with the record. We see what we can do from our side on, obviously.
Appreciate everything, all the support and help, and thanks to all the fans there too. And anything, all the help is welcome. We can do, and we're so happy to get to play there too. Come on down to the shows. Let's have fun.
Next time you're gonna be in Munich, I'll pay for a Coke then.
Cool. All right.
Since you're not drinking, I'll pay for a Coke.
Well, I'll have a coffee. All right.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.